How's it going, everybody? Well, it's a sunny day here in the Portland area, so I thought my spirits are a little up. I figure I'll make a video real quick while I'm out here. I'm originally intended to talk about how winter just brings kind of a drab type atmosphere. You know, I really love the fall. When the leaves are turning and the weather's just starting to move in and we get those fall storms, I love it. People who live in places with major storms all the time, I imagine they don't like it as much. But fall to me in the Portland area is just a beautiful time, you know. And then it gets to be late October and those warm evenings are gone, you know. Those hot days are gone, those Indian summer potentials, and it just becomes like cold days. And it's fine as long as it's sunny out. But when it gets to be cloudy and rainy, here in the Portland area it's actually cloudy a lot of the time. And we're known as the city with a lot of rain, I guess, the Northwest, more of Seattle than Portland. And we are, but at the same time I looked and statistically we actually get less rain than I believe Tennessee or Alabama. And it's because they get the major monsoon type rains that come and just flood the place and then they're gone. Whereas we get these slow trickles that last days. I'd rather just have a big storm and get it over with personally. But, you know, that's the weather. It's the give and the take. The constant trickle and the consistent weather is what gives Portland its ambiance. It's what gives it, you know, so many fir trees around here. It's because it has that misty morning type feeling. I love it. And the possibility to go out to so many different places and look for natural fungus and plants and stuff like that. I just came out here and I saw this big box of rocks I have here. It's like just rocks I've collected over the years. And I leaned down and picked up a piece of petrified wood, and actually got me thinking, because my son was in there a minute ago. He said he wanted to watch a show about, he's like, I want to watch a show about rocks and minerals. I want to watch a show about rocks and minerals. And when he gets on a kick, that's what he's all about. And he's 7. So we turned on this show about geology and rocks and minerals, and he just immersed himself in it. He's that way about all types of scientific stuff, you know. The other day when we were coming home, he's talking about how in school they were talking about their favorite things, and he said, my two favorite things to learn about are Minecraft and mushrooms, or actually he said Mycelium Fungus. He understands things that I didn't about nature, that damn I wish I would have, you know. I wish I would have understood those connections. And it's not school's fault, it's not my parents' fault, it's not my fault, it's just the time I grew up in. You know, in the 80s there was plenty of knowledge out there, but it was hard to obtain unless you knew what to look for. And everybody's into different things. So my father was actually really into going out camping and hiking. He'd take us every year out to the high desert so we could go look for well, he just went out to just be in the desert and the quiet, but we'd go out to look for crystals and rocks. And that was my first kind of obsession. Down by the Trout Creek Mountains, we had this spot we went to, and it was way out in the middle of nowhere. And my dad got sick that time. Now, I didn't find out about this until years later. I knew he had gotten sick because we stopped on the way out of there, and he puked. And it was this, like, I won't even get into the details of it. They think it might have been some kind of parasite. It could have been anything. But point being, we got out to the high desert in the middle of nowhere, and then he got a fever, and he got sick for like 3 or 4 days. And he was totally delirious. And meanwhile, my brother and I, who are like, 6 and 9, or 8 and 11, something like that, we went out and just hiked around in the high desert, in the middle of nowhere by ourselves, up on the mountaintops. And I hiked way down this ridge, came to this little clearing, and there was this white obsidian. It was like a shale-looking type obsidian. It was a white obsidian. I don't know the technical name for it, but I'll see if I have any in here. It's kind of a gray rock, and I don't think I have any. But I took it all home, and then a year later or so, when I was about 12, we had a garage sale in my neighborhood, and I went to sell some of my stuff at my friend's garage sale. And I sold these buckets of rocks and crystals, and this guy came and he started asking me about these ones, and it was all those little, you know, white obsidian pieces. And he's like, "Where'd you find these?" And I'm like, "Oh, I don't know particularly." And I could tell he was prying. He really wanted to know because he's like, these are artifacts, you know, these are probably carved by Native Americans, you know, centuries ago. And come to think of it, I know the spot, and I'll probably go back there one day. I don't know the exact spot, but I know the area. But we'd find things like this all over the place up there. This here is just a shell, you know, just a scallop or whatever. I don't know. I don't eat seafood. I think it's a scallop. Point being that it's full of, it's got a rock inside. I mean, this was sitting in a stone forever. It got covered, it got compacted down. It can become limestone, and then next thing you know, you've got these shells that are millions of years old. And even small rocks, like a black rock with white swirls in it, just the type of activity that has to happen and the pressures in the rocks to create those shapes and patterns. It's ever fascinating to me now. But I guess I'm not going to say that as a kid I wasn't into it, because I had these rocks and minerals books, and I've always been obsessed with rocks. But I guess it was the mushroom thing that kind of got me thinking. I never really learned as much as I would have liked to about the mushroom kingdom. And I'm so glad that my son's into that. And I know he's into it because I'm into it, which makes it even better because we can go out together. And he's, and my oldest son, who's 22, he's really into it too. He wants to go out picking with me. And I'm not just talking about psychedelics here, I'm talking about all different types. And to you know, I don't really have a description for the type of person that I am, but I'm a natural collector. You could say wildcrafter. One who likes to go out and harvest things in the wild, but not for the sake of money in my case, not for the sake of even having things that I need, but rather because of the excitement of the hunt. It's like when people go out hunting animals, often they don't hunt for the meat. More people don't hunt for they don't need the meat. They use the meat, hopefully, but it's the excitement of the hunt. And in that case, you know, you pull the gun up and you say, I could have taken a shot, that's good enough. And I feel the same way about hunting things in the wild. You know, you might find something that you know that is, let's just say, a rare plant or something that's harder to find. And you don't take it all. You take a little bit maybe to take home. That's how I am with the ghost flower, or the corpse plant, or Troppo uniflora. And it's a white flower. I've talked about it before. It's actually a completely white flower that does not photosynthesize, and it gets all its nutrients from mycelium and the fungus. And it lives as, I can't say symbiotically because I don't know what it contributes. But anyway, I was out in the woods one time and I found some growing, and I was like, how can a flower be white? And it was being pollinated by bees. And I had asked the woods to bring me to medicine, and I found that. And ever since then, that's still the best thing I've found in a long time as far as a new discovery. Coincidentally, my friend actually, now come to think of it, sent me a text last night saying, I wonder if you took Troppo uniflora with psychedelics, if it would increase the trip or the experience. And I said, no, actually it would do the direct opposite, because apparently, from the articles I read, people, at least one guy was using it. He'd made a tincture out of ghost plant, and then he would give people like a dropper full, or however much it was, a few drops, at a festival when they were in an intense psychedelic experience, and it would help them come out of it. This stuff is just amazing. It seems that it helps you sit beside your pain and analyze it. I've been scared to try it since the first time I absorbed a bunch when I was cutting it all up, and I slept really well. Let's just say that. And a while back I actually smoked a little bit while a friend was over just to try it out. It has a very interesting effect. And smoking isn't my preferred method of administration or ingestion, but it does give you a view of something's, how it's going to feel, or at least affect you on some level, and it works quickly, because smoking is the quickest way. Like, just the difference between smoking a joint with a friend or eating a cannabis brownie, which might take a couple hours to hit you, and the next thing you know, you're asleep. So you can kind of ease in and see how it works. But all of these different plants have just a crazy relationship. And when I'm out there, you know, it's like when I got the metal detector the other day, I got it for the purpose of going, when I'm out mushroom picking, I'll be able to carry that with me and drag it along. Next thing you know, I'll have like all these different things I'm looking for, because I'm also looking for rocks, you know. I love stones, I love crystals, I love agates. I'm fascinated with them. I got a whole bunch in here whole bunch of these really nice agates that I don't know, you can't see it, but they're cut with a standard tile saw, a little $80 tile saw from Home Depot that I used to do my kitchen. And you can cut stones with them really easily and really inspect inside and see what's in there. And to me, it's, I mean, I look at every cool rock when I'm out and about. So I have so many different things. I'm looking for mushrooms, plants, rocks, interesting twigs, walking sticks, you know, shelf fungus, and particular types of trees. And the more you know, the more you can see. And it's not for the matter of what you can take, but what you know is useful. And you think, you know, when I was growing up, I thought, you know, how did the Native Americans know which things to use, you know, which plants to pick? And I would read about it, and it would say, well, it was just passed on down through the generations. And I'd say, but originally somebody had to try these things to see how they work. And I felt the same way about, like, there's an interesting story about ayahuasca in the jungle, which is the DMT-containing brew that people take for their psychedelic journeys. It's not just the DMT-containing plant, but also the MAOI-containing plant, which is the monoamine oxidase inhibitor, which is the part, they have to be combined in order for it to be orally effective. And I've heard scientists say, how could these people have known these plants could be mixed? I mean, there are tens of thousands of different vines and plants and trees in the jungle, millions most likely, but of the particular type, there are thousands of varieties. How would they know these ones worked? The more I've learned about plants, the more I've started to believe that's totally reasonable. Oh yeah, of course they would find the right one. Because they know different, it's not just about testing plants. In other words, you don't just have to try something to know if it's effective or not. They also have certain characteristics of various plants that give them away. If a plant smells very pungent and let's just say disagreeable, then, and you're smelling these berries that smell bad, most likely they're not very good. You might taste them and they're bitter, like cranberries. Hey, kitty. And then, you know, cranberries are considered, I believe, poisonous, or were originally. I'm not sure. I can't remember the details, but they're not. They weren't something that people really wanted to eat. But mixed with sugar and, you know, a certain type grown, a certain, you know, areas, I guess people enjoy eating them. I think there's something that has to be done to them to make them not bad for you or something. But the point is, we eat a lot of random foods that we used to not eat, and it's confused the issue of what food is, in the sense that when in ancient times we were more connected. I shouldn't say even ancient, but even within, a few centuries back, when we were, you know, the alchemists had worked on their concoctions and their brews, and many herbalists had written about a variety of different plants over the centuries. I mean, you think about centuries worth of experience through billions of people trying millions at least, trying different herbs and concoctions and mixtures and taking notes. And we've learned a lot. We're kind of going back to that. Do take it for granted sometimes, some of the stuff that we have available, you know. Actually, looking over here, I've got this onion, and this thing was just sitting in the kitchen, and it started sprouting. We don't use onions very often, so I started growing it, and I didn't start growing it. I just set it out here and let it grow. But it always gets me thinking about how much I dislike onions. I think they're disgusting. I think a lot of the things that we consider part of our foods and our diet, they are disgusting. They're gross. They don't taste good to me at all. But, you know, that's my opinion. Of course, I know that onions aren't really eaten generally as a meal, but, you know, some people will eat it like a bloomin' onion. It's strange to me. It's not a good food in my opinion, but to each his own. I mean, I think that's what makes this world so wonderful, is that we all have different opinions and different interests. And that's something that I really embrace. And I'll tell you, I'm ever grateful that not everybody doesn't think the same way. I'm glad that there aren't more people that are interested in mushroom hunting, and there aren't more people interested in growing cannabis, and there aren't more people who are artists in a specific type of art, because this allows us to have variety, yet not be too overwhelmed with any one type of thinking. I don't think there's any way I can really word it to explain what I'm talking about, but maybe you get where I'm coming from. Variety is the spice of life. And I don't expect people to be excited about the same things that I am. I meet a lot of people here on YouTube who's like, yeah, I'm into that, and then let's say I'll make a different video, and it's something they're totally not interested in. That's what I like about life. Different people, different interests. There are people out there who have no interest whatsoever in going out in nature. I mean, damn, nature, you scary. If you don't know what that's from, I think it's Saturday Night Live. It was a black guy doing, I think it was Tracy Morgan, if I'm not mistaken. But he was doing this thing about, black guys in nature and this whole stereotype about, his quote, his punchline was, damn, nature, you scary. And that came into my mind just, I don't know, like 20 minutes ago before I did this video, and it's just funny that it came up, it ended up coming up to my mind in this video, because I was thinking about how many people really are scared of nature, and I'm not just saying blacks, of course. There are a lot of people out there who just don't like going camping. Camping wasn't even really a thing, until the modern Western world. I mean, people had spent so long trying to escape nature, to get into cities where they could get away from bugs, diseases, wild animals, and we got so sucked into not just city life, but suburban life, that people don't even understand how important it is to allow predators to roam. For example, where I live, just on the edge of Idaho, I'm in Washington State, Washington-Oregon border, but over by Idaho and Montana, the ranchers had been complaining about the wolves through the 1800s, and so I think it was in the 1900s they started killing all the wolves off. They were given permits to kill off all the predators, and they did. They eliminated all the wolves. And there may have been a few packs roaming, I'm not sure. But they reintroduced the wolves, I think it was in the 90s or in the 2000s, if I'm not mistaken, that they really started this program. And now there are plenty more, back in there that can help to eliminate the problem with overpopulation of deer and elk. But then that upsets them too, because you're taking away from their hunting tags and their rights. But there's more than just the deer and the elk and the wolves. It's the fact that when they're being chased, the types of vegetation that they're kicking up when they're running away, the carcasses that are left behind, all the different parts that make nature work. Every time we try to remove something from the ecosystem, we totally fuck it up. Every time. It could be something as small as a microbe, a mosquito, a fly, and everything has a little part. I remember thinking when I was younger, I hated yellow jackets because I always got chased by them. I always got stung, and I thought, if I could get rid of them, would I? And then I realized, no, because they've got to have some place, and of course they are. They're meat eaters. They clean up carcasses and whatnot. But it was like things like the mosquito, things that are annoying to us, things that scare us, bloodsuckers and whatnot, and even spiders. We've just gotten so sucked into our comfort zone that people are afraid to even get dirty and go out and do something like going camping. It's become something that's like, some people are like, why would I go out camping? Why would I go out and sit in the natural quiet when I can be here with all my devices and all my fun? It's a tough one. I wish I had, sometimes I wish I had grown up and spent my life with my family in a natural setting, away from city and the confusion and the chaos. And then on the other hand, I realized that without this, what I have here, I never would have been able to educate myself to the level that I have and understand as much as I have without living with people, around people, having the internet, and growing up in a world where we see what most people are really doing, And it's hard for us to get a different, I don't know, a better perspective on what other people are thinking until we have been there ourselves. So I'm not a city boy, but I'm not a country boy. I'm not a suburb boy. I don't know what the hell I am. I guess I am kind of a... I can't stand the inner city, but I do like having access to the things I want to do. But in the long run, I don't really do much. In other words, I'd like to just have a farm where I can live quietly for the rest of my life someday. And right now, raising kids, that's not, you know... It's like the old, they're going to school, where we have jobs here, my wife works here in this area, it's the only place where she can get as much as she does. It's hard to step away from what you have when you're tied down through your obligations, like we are, but you have to make the most of it and enjoy it for what it is. So anyway, ramble over. I'll talk to y'all later, and have yourselves a wonderful day, and be safe, and all that stuff.